Good day, everyone. So this day, I'm going to discuss about heredity, inheritance, and variations of traits. Who is Gregor Johann Mendel? Gregor Johann Mendel is a father of heredity. No, he worked with varieties of pea plants to establish the principles and laws that will explain the patterns of trait inheritance among organisms. Then, Mendel's work served as the foundation of the modern principles of genetics. That's why he earned him the title of Father of Heredity. Now, let's proceed to the first principle of the non-Mendelian patterns of inheritance. This is what we call the principle of incomplete dominance. So, what is what is principle of incomplete dominance? It is also known as the partial dominance or the intermediate inheritance. It is a non-Mendelian inheritance where a dominant allele cannot completely mask the effect of the recessive allele such that heterozygotes come out with a blended phenotypes. Both parental phenotypes are not seen. So meaning, in the principle of incomplete dominance, one pattern is discovered is that one allele is not completely dominant over the other allele, resulting in the blending of characteristics or the appearance of the intermediate phenotype possessed by the two parents. For instance, the white horse crossed with a black horse. If the outcome in this case is gray color horse, this is an example of incomplete dominance where one allele is not completely dominated over the other allele that resulting into the gray color horse. Okay, there is a blending characteristics of the white horse and the black horse, then resulting a new color, which is the gray color horse. Okay, next example is a flower color in the hibiscus or a 4 o'clock flower. So as you can see in the table, no, and as a example, a cross between a red colored flower and another white colored flower that would result in the production of the offspring that are pink colored. Okay, so as you can see in the table, no, the F1 offspring are all pink colored flowers. No, a heterozygous characteristic, which is a distinct from two homozygous parents. So when the F1 offspring were allowed to self-fertilize, the F2 offspring produce a genotype and phenotype ratio number, and then use Punnett square to get the correct genotypic and phenotypic ratio of the species. Okay, so next is we have the codominance. Codominance is a non-Mendelian inheritance where both alleles involved are equally dominant. Both parent phenotypes can be seen simultaneously expressed in the same offspring. Okay, that is codominance. Okay, so again, codominance trait represents an organism that is in heterozygous or which shows both distinct alleles at the same time. So as can observe in the picture that two distinct phenotypes after codominance can be seen in the offspring. So the ultimate result in the picture shows the mating of two completely different color chicks, orange and white, which result in the chick of manage orange and white color solely in the offspring. Okay? Example of principle of codominance. No, a cross between a red coat and white coat in a cow. So, when a homozygous red coat-colored cow is crossed with a homozygous white coat-colored cow, the F1 offspring are all heterozygous roan coat-colored cattle. Okay, so a roan coat color is one in which the coat color is the mixture of the red and white coat color. So as you can see sa example, no, there is a roan. No, turo na siya sa pinakakuan, sa pinakalas. That is an example of codominance. So we have the genotypes. RW is equals to 50%. Um, WW is 50%. Then the phenotypes is roan 50%. Then white 50%. Okay? So that is all about principle of codominance. Next is we have the multiple alleles. Sometimes, even if only two alleles control a trait, there may actually be more than two types of alleles available. This will be lead to more than two phenotypes expressed. Another blood group system in the humans, the ABO system, is an example of a character governed by multiple alleles. So three alleles are responsible for this blood system: the IA, IB, and I. The ABO blood type is determined by the presence or absence of two antigens. These are the type A and B. Okay, or the antigen A and antigen B. Okay? Now, again, one example of traits controlled by multiple allele is the human blood groups. No, type A, B, AB, and O. These letters refer to types of carbohydrates designated as A and B are incorporated in the plasma membrane of the red blood cells. Okay, now, in the table, it shows that the alleles for type A and type B are dominant over the type O allele. Okay, so persons with type O carry the homozygous alleles for type O. This means that they lack in the type A and B alleles in their blood. Okay, so a person heterozygous for blood type AB carries the alleles for A and B since both alleles are expressed. These alleles are codominant with each other. Okay? Okay, example number 1. Homozygous type A female cross between heterozygous type B male. So, ano ang nangyari? Okay. Ayan. So, ang nangyari is, we have the genotype ratio, 50%, 50% type AB, then 50% type A. Then the phenotype ratio, we have 50% type AB and 50% type A. Multiple alleles. That is an example of multiple alleles. Okay, examples of multiple alleles are rabbit fur colors, human blood types, and human eye colors. Next is we have the sex chromosomes. So, sex chromosomes, humans have 22 pairs of autosomes, which are the same both female and male. The last two chromosomes were given letter designations of X and Y. They are sex chromosomes. Now, it will determine the gender of the organisms. Female has two identical X chromosomes, and male has the similar chromosomes, one for X and one for Y. Okay? So, the female chromosomes is two identical X chromosomes, while the male has one for X and one for Y. Okay? Next is we have the sex determination. No, we had already know that the X and Y, this identical sex chromosomes is designated for male, while the XX chromosomes are designated for females. Now, as you can see in the table, so we have the parent, which is the female XX and the male XY. Then we have also the gametes, no? Then gametes, fertilizations, and zygote. Look at the table, okay, the picture, okay. So, if an egg is fertilized by a sperm with a Y chromosome, as you can see in the figure, then the offspring is male. No? So, an egg. So, ang egg is na-fertilize siya with Y chromosome, so yung offspring is male. Okay. Next is, when an egg is fertilized by sperm carrying an X chromosome, then the offspring is female. So kung ang sperm is yung egg is na fertilize siya ng sperm na with X chromosome, then the offspring is female. So take note that there is a 50% chance of having a male or female offspring. So the greater the number of the offspring, the greater is the chance of getting the expected 1:1 ratio of male and female. No, again, look at the table. So, kung ang gamit X ng female is mag-fertilize siya dito sa gamits ng X ng male, so ang kanilang offspring is female. Then yung gamit X ng female is mag-fertilize siya doon sa gamit sa sa male chromosome na Y, so ang anak o yung offspring is male. So as you can see in the table, no, it's very easy to understand. Okay? Next, we have the sex-linked traits. So genes located on the X chromosomes are called X-linked genes. Genes on the Y chromosomes are called Y-linked genes. An example of X-linked trait in humans is hemophilia. A person suffering from hemophilia could die from loss of blood, even from a small one, because the blood either clots very slowly or does not clot at all. Okay? So, another example of an X-linked trait is color blindness. Now, to illustrate the inheritance of the X-linked trait, we will use the color blindness in our discussion. Okay, so color blindness class is another example of X-linked trait. It is a condition wherein the individual is unable to distinguish among some of all colors. For them, some color appear as shades of gray. It results from several common recessive disorders associated with the X chromosomes. This happens when some mutant forms of the genes change the light absorbing capacity of the sensory receptors inside the cells. Okay? So in the sex-linked traits are traits that are controlled by the genes found in the sex chromosomes, both X or Y. Sex-linked traits are recessive. In most cases, the recessive gene or allele was inherited from one, both, or both of the parents. Sex-linked traits are affect mostly male offspring. This is because they have only one X chromosome which they inherit from their mother. So, if the X chromosome carries a genetic disorder, such disorder will be expressed in them. In contrast, two X chromosome of the female offspring should both carry disorder before it can be expressed. Okay? So, we have an example of the sex-linked traits. Okay, so we have the normal and the carrier of hemophilia. Then after performing the Punnett square, then we get the answer. So we have the genotypic ratio of 1:1:1:1. We have here the 25% female carrier, then 25% male normal, then 25% female hemophilia, then 25% male hemophilia. That is the phenotypic ratio. Okay? So, ayan siya yung Punnett square. We have the carrier mother and the unaffected father. Okay. Next is we have the DNA or the genetic material. Okay, now, scientists know that the genetic material is the DNA or the deoxyribonucleic acid. Modern research techniques help scientists to answer many questions about DNA and heredity. The work of earlier scientists gave Watson and Crick a lot of information about DNA. By the end of 1940s, scientists had found that DNA consists of long strands of nucleotides. So each nucleotides contains a pentose sugar called deoxyribose, a phosphate group, and one of the four compounds called the nitrogenous bases. So what is the chemical composition of DNA? So DNA, it is a type of nucleic acid. No, nucleic acids are also known as polynucleotides because they are composed of many nucleotides that are linked together in a long chain. So as you can see in the figure, so each nucleotide of DNA is chemically made up of three components, namely the 5-carbon sugar pentose called the deoxyribose, the phosphate group, and the nitrogenous bases. So it shows that in the diagram representation, the chemical structure of one nucleotide that is made up of phosphate group, a deoxyribose sugar, and nitrogenous bases. Again, nitrogenous bases are classified into purine such as guanine and adenine, and pyrimidine such as cytosine and thymine. Okay? So again, nitrogenous bases are classified into purines and pyrimidine. Then purines contain guanine and adenine while the pyrimidine contain the cytosines and thymine. And that is all about DNA and its chemical composition. No, so DNA is the genetic material. It acts as the chemical storage of facility of the genetic information. No, it carries the code for the expressions of inherited characters. So DNA is replicated during the synthesis phase of the interphase before a cell divide. So that's why we have to study DNA. That's all, and this is the end of our summary of the discussion. Thank you.